Hi again. My name is Rebel and I'm the Rebel Reseller. And we're going to try to get caught up with our What Sold videos. This one is going to be for the week of Monday through Thursday, October 17th through the 20th. My sales were still killing it. So, I've got a bunch to share with you. And I had like 5 or so on Etsy that 4-day period. I think Robert had 5 or 6 also. So it ended up being a really good week. Now, y'all, this past weekend, crazy. We shipped, what was it? We shipped Saturday. Then Monday morning, we did a bunch, like 40 some, 50 some. And then while we were waiting to meet up with the carrier with the packages, I did like 10 more. So it was a lot. And then this morning we still had a bunch to ship. And of course there was a ka-ching just now. So at least one more to ship here in a few, as soon as we're done with this. But let me go ahead and share with you some of the things that I sold. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6 things to share with you from Etsy. Now, I'm not running a sale in that store right now. So for some reason, if I don't run a sale, when I go into the solds, it just has the price that it was originally listed at. So all of these things were still in November when I was running a sale. And so they're 10% less than what you're seeing on the screen. This first one was a Krisha Playful Plush dog stocking, and it sold for $17.95. This sold immediately. In fact, I listed it on eBay, right onto Etsy, and it sold on Etsy, I'm pretty sure the same day. This was a Russ Snuggle Bear plush from 1986, and it sold for the 10% of $34.95. And then this is Miss Noah. I don't find it very often, so I don't really get to speak about it very often, but it's one of my favorite brands to find. Just very unique plush. Their faces are like very unique. Once you've seen them, like with this one, it's all different colors of fur on their face. Just very unique. So this one sold for like $44.95 or something like that. I think this officially is the last of the HO scale stuff that I picked up at an estate sale, I want to say a couple of years ago. We ended up buying 3 like Xerox box size packed with HO scale stuff. No trains, just mostly models and accessories and stuff like that. And I just put these 3 together, the 3 kits, and they sold for $36.95. This Cupid doll, I think we picked up at the bins. The box was rough, but the doll, you could tell, had never been removed. Cupid dolls don't sell for a whole lot in general. There's probably a few exceptions, but this one ended up selling very quickly for me. It was from 1999 Jesco, and it sold for $16.95. And then these finger puppets, they were in with a bunch of other stuff that I had picked up at the bins. Most of them had this royal kingdom castle type theme to them. And they sold on Etsy for, I think, $34.95. And then eBay. All right, first thing that sold is this Frigidaire advertising bear plush. We just bought a new washer. We've told you guys we flooded, and Frigidaire was, they were nice, but I ended up wanting a washing machine that had a removable agitator because, everybody's complained that their clothes don't get as clean with a non-agitator washing machine. And then when I realized you can actually buy them where you can remove it, so when I wash my plush, I don't get the damage from it just being too rough. But yeah, Frigidaire. I hadn't heard of that in such a long time. I thought maybe they were no longer made, but they are. All right, I'm including this because this person's already left me feedback. It's just funny how, you look at something like this. It's Golden Bear Company, which I like that brand, but a lot of it's bread and butter, just like this. But she, in her feedback to me, put the original one that she'd gotten as a young child next to this one. I like when they do that because, they've gone intentionally on eBay looking for not a replacement, but, a newer version of a beloved plush. So I just thought that was interesting. Build-A-Bear. This is another one of the plush from the Way of Lights, Lady of Snow thing that's somewhere in Illinois. I've found a dog before. I think there's a couple of different plush animals. This was the fox. And it ended up selling for $17.95. This, I think, was my best sell of the week, the Monday through Thursday. Funny thing is it sat on our shelf for a while until, I took the time to finally get it listed. I listed it in August, so it took a couple of months to sell, but it is a Towncraft liquid core stainless steel electric cooker. This is probably one of the few exceptions of stuff that we continue to look at is these electric cookers. How much did we pay for it?
I think we got it, I think it was $25 at an estate sale. We got it on half price day. I think that's the one.
But it did sell for $224.95. Raven's Den. Definitely a brand to be looking for. I think this was the first time I've ever seen it, and I didn't realize what a great find it was. You can see right here what the tag looked like. It's just kind of a sideways R. But it was an aardvark, and it sold in about 4 months, $35.95. Gerber. I like finding the Gerbers, the animal fairs, some of the novelty plush companies. It's just, they tend to sell for me. Like this one sold in about 3 months. Not for a lot, but I think it's just one of those certain ones like these rabbits that people remember getting them probably in an Easter basket or something, and they just go on eBay looking, and this one sold for $13.45. This was a Ben's pickup. Pretty sure Robert found them. They were, I think, still in their original packaging, but it was torn and everything, so I just took them out. This are replacement butterfly lids for Tupperware, $15.29. Replacement pieces and parts to toys. This is a Handy Manny toolbox from 2007, sold for $8.96. The Wiggles accordion musical toy. It had lots of paint wear, so I think it would have done better if it was in better condition. It did work, which I have a video showing that, and it sold in about a month, $15.25. This was one of those instances. I think I had like the dump truck listed, and then I found these other 2 vehicles, so I took the listing down, made a small lot of the 3. These are Little Tykes Toddle Tots vehicles, and they sold same month, $14. Tie Pillow Pals. I like picking up the Pillow Pals, the Tie Babies, the Pluffies, just in a lot of the classics, not the beanies. But this Foxy Fox sold for $16.15. Still have some clothes in my store. You know what I think I'm going to do is, this morning I was just transferring the 10 that I ended that were about to end in my store. I put them over into your store. I think I'm going to go in and sort it by the most recent stuff that I listed several months ago before we did this. And then once I get to like stuff that wasn't listed in the last year, I'm just going to do a 50% off sale in my store to get rid of the last of it and not bother putting them over in your store. Because most of these I'm marking way down anyway because they've been listed a while. I'm going to get to a certain point where I'm going to only start putting some of the stuff that I listed this year in my store, move them over to your store, and then I'll do 50% sale like in January to try to start getting rid of this old stuff, especially the stuff that we don't have pictures of the measurements. Just, that's my thought process. But I did sell these silver jeans. Yeah, they've been listed since January. Finally sold them for $21. Playmobil Indians and Horse figure lot. It was supposed to have a buffalo. It didn't. Again, listed for about 4 months. Sold for $26.95. I think we picked these up at an estate sale. I bought a bunch of stuff at an estate sale this summer. And I want to say it was like $2. Gans Heritage Collection Cow Plush sold for $13.45. This, I was in my most recent brand video. It was one of the reasons I decided to go ahead and do that video. This is from North American Bear Company. This one was called Flapjack Bunny, and it sold immediately after I listed it for $109.95. Funny thing is if you didn't watch that video, this and 2 others in the same series were in the last bag of stuff that I was processing from our last trip to St. Louis Benz. It was just last bag, and I found these 3. I found the basil fox, just several treasures all in the last bag. This we picked up at an estate sale this summer. I remember paying $3 for it. And it is Snoopy and Friends Bouquet Plush. And it sold for $26.95. Commonwealth. I need to do another brand video on that one too. There's a lot of very nice vintage plush in that brand. This one was from 1994. It was one of those crib plush that you pull and it makes sounds or music, and it sold for $18.
So bouquet of flowers instead of bouquet?
Did I say bouquet?
You said bouquet.
That's probably how I would say it then. Now that you said bouquet, I'm thinking, which one did I say? But yeah, bouquet. You say bouquet, of course.
Of course, yes.
Of course. All right, IKEA. I pick up a lot of IKEA plush. This is a Bernese Mountain Dog, and it sold in about 5 months, $20.
Can we talk shipping rates real quick?
Shipping rates.
I've seen it forever. It seems like overage charges on FedEx and sometimes UPS.
A lot of the Facebook posts are FedEx coming back and recharging you a lot.
We talked about it in our live yesterday, and somebody shipped a blow mold of candle or something. I don't know how big it was. And I got curious because some people say that eBay does not correctly calculate dimensional weight charges for Etsy, FedEx, and UPS. It does for USPS. And we rarely ship those. So we went in and we took an item we were shipping and made it 9 pounds. And it bumped the prices up for everything, of course. But then when I changed it to a very large, like, what was it, 28, 18?
Yeah, 24, 18, 18 or something like
something
that.
big. And it jumped it up to like $58 for USPS. And then UPS and FedEx went up to like, what, $20, $24?
25, 28,
somewhere in there. So they got quite a bit more expensive because I did it as a 12, 12, 12 and it stayed cheap. But once I got into that dimensional weight, both of them really jumped up their prices quite a bit. Did it jump it up the full amount that it needed to? I don't know, but it is significantly increasing the price once you get above a cubic foot on eBay for, I started to say Etsy again, FedEx and UPS. But be careful. Make sure that you're entering in the correct dimensions. And somebody in a comment to that said that they increased their package length by a half an inch. You got to make sure that if you are 9.5 inches on it, you got to make it 10.
10.
You always have to round up to that next whole inch. And then also the next whole pound if you're above a pound, because you always round it up to the next to the next whole number.
Yeah, and you cannot put the size of the box that's on the bottom of the box. So for instance, you know, these large Walmart boxes, they're like 24/18/6. No, you can't put those dimensions because that's the interior of the box. So you have to go ahead and use a tape measure. And more than likely, for us, it seems to be we just end up bumping up the first two numbers to the next whole number. So 25, 19, 16. We leave the last one because that itty bit of cardboard box usually isn't going to increase all three of them. But you really need to be careful.
The dimensions on the box are the interior dimensions. So this is an 864 box. And when I have it here on the tape measure, it is actually 8 and almost a 1/4 inch long.
So you got to round up.
So it's got to be 9. And then the width is 6.5, not 6. And then the height is 4.5, not 4. So I always just lay it down and I do roll it over like that, and we actually get 974 is what we use
instead of 864. So just be careful, especially when you're over a pound and into the dimensional weight, you know, bigger than a cubic foot. 12, 12, 12. All right. Next thing that sold was this animal fair pink rabbit. Rabbits at Christmas time. Fine with me, but this one sold for $12. I think its saving grace was it had its original paper tag still attached. This sold instantly. I find these all the time at the bins. It was my one and only. I thought maybe I had multiples listed, but I didn't, and it sold the same day that I listed it. It is the dragon hand puppet. Of course, the tags are almost always cut off because they're like this long. Sold for the full price, $14.95. Douglas Gray Wolf Husky Dog. Now, this may have been shown in a previous video because I shipped it, I sold it, shipped it, it came back. Returned to sender, or it went to she said it went to the correct address. But I don't know. I didn't double check. I just went ahead and refunded her. And she repurchased it and I shipped it again. So, but this time, the first time I think I sold it on sale. This time she just went ahead and paid the full price, which technically covered the shipping that I had went ahead and refunded her. Because I think it was just an issue with the post office. I don't remember the whole story. But nevertheless, this sold again to the same person. All right, Fisher-Price Great Adventures. You know, I've sold, I think, 2 of the 3 that I listed. This is actually the platform that went inside the Robin Hood treehouse. And it sold very quickly, $12. Kohl's Cares. This is Mo Willems' Elephant and Pig Plush lot. I've been doing a lot of these lots. They've been selling very well for me. Not just the Kohl's Cares, you know, a lot of the other brands too. But these 2 sold for $18. Lego Duplo. I have a tote over here. I sorted it out, pulled out all the figures. These are Duplos. But I noticed I had a couple of things from the movie Disney Planes. Just decided to list them by themselves. And they sold very, very quickly, $17.95. I've still got a tote full of just the blocks to get listed. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles plush from 2002 sold for $11.66. Ty Goldwyn, the Golden Retriever plush, took a best offer of $10. Rhodey Jr. Yellow Horse toy sold for $20. Mickey Mouse Christmas stocking sold for $10. A lot of little. Peanuts Snoopy Charlie Brown cassette tapes. This was in that Snoopy lot that I won I purchased 2 summers ago. Not got a whole lot of it left, but these cassettes sold for $15. Jellycat. This was a Ben's pickup, I think, on our trip when we went up to New York and down through Ohio. It is Berry Santa Claus, and it sold for the full price, $39.95. Disney Baby Gonzo Plush sold for $13.45. I think I sold 2 Gonzos. Dr. Deuce, look at that. It sold instantly. That's hilarious. Grinch Talking Plush. Oh, okie dokie. It sat here forever too because it needed tested. It needed wiped down. And look, then I misspelled it. Oh well, $26.95. This is Fisher-Price Amazing Animals. They like click. There's not a whole bunch of them in this series. I'm only putting this on here because it's not something I'm going to pick up anymore. These took forever. I had just actually added, I think, one of the lions to it just to try to make them gone. And they finally sold for $8, but they're heavy. They're heavy. I think there might be one of the Amazing Animals that are worth picking up, but I can't even remember what it is right now. Dr. Seuss, the correct way, Yertle the Turtle Plush sold for $17.95. Douglas Spunky the Hedgehog Plush with the cute little rose sold for $13.45. Animoodles Hazel the Sloth. I think this has like removable like arms and legs and stuff. From 2018 sold for $20.20. Gund Mitzi the Cat Plush sold for $17.95. Douglas Mistletoe Christmas Kittens Plush. I think when I found this Douglas one, I also found a Commonwealth one. The Douglas one was in much nicer condition, better quality even. But the Commonwealth one sold first, probably because it was cheaper. But this one ended up selling for $22.45. JCPenney Christmas Bear. Been listed forever. Finally sold $10. Bright Starts Elmo Lovey Plush. This was one of those desperate situations. I got a message saying would I ship this priority, so I went ahead and changed it to priority shipping, and they purchased it right away. Their child had lost the lovey and it needed to get there as soon as possible. $9.95. Another IKEA plush. This is the Big Bad Wolf. I had the grandma, but I did not have Red Riding Hood, and it sold for $15.25. IKEA Vandrig Hair Rabbit Plush. Lots of IKEA. $13.45. The other Muppets Gonzo dressed as a pilgrim sold for $22.45. VeggieTales DVD lot. Picked up a bunch of DVDs at an estate sale. I want to say I paid 50 cents each. They have not been moving for me at all, even in small lots. Probably not. I need to stay away from DVDs. This one sold for $10.27 for the lot of 3. Doll shoes. I think this was when I went through all these totes of doll clothes that I had. I just made a lot of these shoes. Probably that one pair really looks more like it's infant. They finally sold $11. Robert picked this up the first time we went to Peaches to the Beaches. I'm glad you had to pack that.
It was easy.
Yeah, it was a shadow box full of seeds and cotton and just stuff. I'm guessing it made it there safe and sound. $22.45. Cloud Island Lion Lovey sold very, very quickly. $19.95. Folk Menace Unicorn Hand Puppet sold for $10. Had lots of fading and discoloration. I still will list them. Just make the prices less than everybody else's. Disney Winnie the Pooh Lovey sold for $26.95. And I've sold a lot of Loveys too. Oh, and then we're back to that. All right, let me go ahead and show you a few things that Robert sold in his store. First thing were these Old Navy youth jeans. We don't normally do kids size stuff. I think it was a mistake. Took forever to sell, $8.
We had a question on a shirt. Somebody wanted to know, they wanted extra pictures, and then they wanted to know if it was light flannel or heavy flannel. And I don't know the difference. And to me, that was, Rebel said, that's a return waiting to happen right there, trying to define whether or not it's heavy or light. Now, clothing people might know. But for me, that's just, I'm probably going to answer it wrong and either miss the sale, which is fine, or answer it wrong and get a return, which is not fine because that's, we're out money when that happens. So
Yep.
Be careful with the questions you answer and how you answer them.
Wrangler men's jeans sold for $15. Aeropostale women's jeans sold for $13.21. J Mode or Mode tunic sweater sold for $14. Summit sportswear plaid women's skirt sold for $11.
Before we go to the next one, we need advice. Two things. First, more important because it's us. What do y'all use for cookware? We want to get. We decided stainless steel, I think, is what we want. We've talked about getting some of the cast iron or cast. We have some cast iron. It's really heavy for Rebel, especially if it's a larger pot, and Janiyah too. And then ceramic we've looked at, but that we've noticed that especially with our kids around, that stuff just tends to get dinged and scratched and stuff.
And they burn stuff.
And they burn stuff on it. And I had one that I burned something in one of them really bad, and ever since then it sticks really bad.
Everything sticks.
So we're looking at stainless steel. Do you have any recommendations on what you would consider really good stainless steel that you've been happy with? We've looked at, of course I go out and I hit the reviews and
all clad. Can't afford.
But that's not even stainless steel, I don't think.
Probably not.
It's clad in something. I'm not even sure what it's clad in. But one of them was, for things that are reasonable, was Calphalon, which you can get at, I guess, Amazon. It was $200 for like a 10-piece set. But is that good quality? It's 3-ply, then there's 5-ply, and there's like, is 3-ply better than 5-ply? And somebody said, well, the Cook's magazine said they've never really picked a 5-ply as their best brand of the year or whatever. So I don't know. What do you all think? What's your favorite stainless steel cookware? Or if you have something that's even better than stainless steel, let us know that.
Yeah. Bonus if it can be used on an induction oven.
Especially if it can be used on an induction cooktop. Because we have a little extra eye that we put on the counter. And sewing machines. Janiyah wants to do a little sewing. What do y'all got? What do y'all suggest for? The one that I was looking at she's a very beginner, but we don't want something it's so beginner that she can't really do anything more than very, very basic stuff on it. But you don't want something that's so overly complicated that she'll be overwhelmed and not do anything on it. So what do you think? I was thinking computer because you can do more with it, computerized, but then is that going to make it too complicated for her? There was a nice one on Amazon. It was a Singer. It was highly rated, but I missed the $125 off sale. It was on Friday. When I looked on Saturday, that was gone. Now it's back up to $550. But then there's a couple Janome that were pretty good for beginners, but they're mechanical and not computerized. So computerized or mechanical, or what do y'all suggest if you're into that sort of thing? And if you're not into it, just make something up and tell us. We'll believe it.
American Eagle women's jeans sold for $11.41. Rocky Ford hood. Robert, you even questioned that. And then look, they sold right away after. He was like, was that supposed to be Fort Hood? But no, it said Ford hood right on the boots. And they sold for $30. And Berkeley Jensen men's jeans sold for $13.21. All right. winding down here. I'm ready to go on a sourcing trip, get some new inventory, get the rest of this dealt with one way or another, and start the new year out fresh.
You're going to have to wait a few weeks on that sourcing trip.
I know. A few more weeks, but right now I'm just kind of putting together 8 or 10 things to list for the next day and calling it good. I'm doing projects inside the house.
RJ's making traveling complicated if he's going to go with us because he's working at a local grocery store now, Food City, and he has to actually be able to get off work and go. He can't just up and go like we've always done for the first 18 years of his life. We could just go whenever we wanted. So, but that's all right. Well, he's working it out with them as the getting off probably the week after Christmas instead of the week of Christmas this time, and then we'll go.
Yep. Looking forward to it. And a break. All right, y'all. Get to work. Bye.